Hello boys and girls, thank you very much for joining us. We're very sorry we can't meet together and do our normal Sunday school or pathway, but instead of that we are going to use these videos to hopefully teach you a little bit from the Bible. And because it's coming up to Christmas time, we thought over the next few weeks, let's look at why we celebrate Christmas. And of course, Christmas is such good fun, and maybe you've already written some letters to Santa or you've decorated your houses, but the real reason we celebrate Christmas is to celebrate Jesus coming to earth and God sending his son to us. And so that's what we're going to look at over the next few weeks. And today in particular, in this video, what we're going to do is go right back and think about Jesus's family, because of course Jesus was born into a family and Jesus was fully human. So just like you and I, Jesus had family. He had a mummy, a daddy, he had brothers and sisters, aunties and uncles, and grandparents, great-grandparents, and great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents that went way back into the Old Testament. So we're going to have a look at Jesus's family and what you would call his family line. Now, for the older ones, hopefully you got these worksheets. You had a little chance to draw a little family portrait, whatever your family looks like. Hopefully you got a chance to do a little drawing of the people who are in your family. This is Sadie's one, so you can see this is me. I think she's got a pretty good likeness there. She's certainly got the glasses and the curly hair. So hopefully you got a wee chance to do that. That was the older ones who had that worksheet. And also I want to show you something. This is a family photo. This usually lives in my mummy's house, but she let me borrow it. This is an old family photo of some of my old family members. And if you would believe it, this man here is my great grandfather, and these people here are my great grandparents. So they're Sadie and Elliot's great grandparents. And obviously you can see from this photo, this is taken a very long time ago, probably over 120, maybe even 130 years ago. This was taken in Victorian times. So I never met these people, and yet they are my family. I can look back and say, yes, these people are part of my family, part of the family line that I came through. And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at Jesus's family line from way back. And what we do to find out about Jesus's family line, because we don't have a photograph of his relatives because cameras weren't invented then, but what we do is we can look in the Bible, and we can look in the Bible and read all about Jesus's earthly family. And where we first start to do that is at the very beginning of the Bible, in the book of Genesis, the very first book of the Bible. We can read about where Jesus's family started. Now, when we read in Genesis, we read the first account of the story of creation, how God created the world. And when God created the world, we are told it was good. There was nothing wrong with the world. It was perfect. And of course he created Adam and Eve, and everything was good. The Bible tells us that. But as we look around now, we can see things aren't good, and we can see coronavirus, and we know that is definitely not good. But we can also see people not behaving well, people telling lies or being unkind to each other. And we can see something went wrong. And what went wrong was that Adam and Eve disobeyed God. And when they disobeyed God, everything got messed up and sin came into the world. And so God's perfect creation became not perfect. But the good news was that God, right from the very beginning, after Adam and Eve had disobeyed him, God had a plan. He had a plan to fix it, to fix what was broken. And God's plan was to send a rescuer, someone to fix it all. He had a plan right from the very beginning. Back in Genesis, he had a plan to have it all fixed by this rescuer. Now, by the end, we keep reading the Bible and it's split into the Old Testament before Jesus came and the New Testament. But by the end of the Old Testament, and there's a lot of books in the Old Testament, the rescuer still hadn't come. So people were still waiting for this person who God had promised. But God's plans were just perfect. He knew when was the right time to send his rescuer. And God had decided to send this rescuer through a chosen family. And it's in the Old Testament we can read about this chosen family where this rescuer was going to come from. And all through the Old Testament we can read how God was trying to prepare people for this rescuer who was going to come. So let's look at some of the family names. So the very first person, I wonder, can you guess the very, very first person, and remember this for the quiz, who is in Jesus' family line, who is mentioned in the Bible, is Adam. So the very person who disobeyed God right at the very start is in Jesus' family. If Jesus had photographs, he could have looked back and said, oh, there's my great, too many greats to say. But Adam would have been in there. So we'll pop him there. And then next, we read about a man called Abraham. So if you remember, Abraham was the man who God made lots of promises to. And God made big promises about Abraham's family and how important Abraham's family was going to be for the rest of the people in the world. This was going to be a very, very important man. So we'll put Abraham there. Other people who are mentioned then are Abraham's son Isaac. So he is in Jesus' family line. And then Isaac had a son called Jacob. And then Jacob had 12 sons. And God said the promised rescuer was going to come from which one of the 12 sons? He was going to come from Judah's line. So try and remember that as well if you can. And then going on a little bit, a very important one that is mentioned quite a lot in the Old Testament, one of Jesus's relatives was a king. And can you think who that was? Who was Jesus's relative who was a good king? Well, it was King David. So King David is related to Jesus. So we'll put him there. And then going on a little bit, then we get mentioned, then is mentioned a lady called Ruth. So I'm sure some of you remember the story of Ruth being taught. So she is related to Jesus. I think I've got her the wrong way around. I think she should be actually that way around. And then King David's son Solomon, who is also a king, is also in Jesus' family line. So we'll pop them all there. Okay, so this particular family, all of these people, prophets in the Old Testament told everyone, look, keep your eyes open and your ears open because the promised rescuer is going to come through this family line. This is where he is going to come from. And of course, when Jesus was born, that is exactly what happened. Jesus can look back and he can say, all of these people were in my family line. I came down through a particular line, right down through to Mary and to Joseph. We can see that Jesus came through this family line. So this proved that this person called Jesus, when he said he was the promised rescuer, it proves that he was the one who God had meant to send. And so we can see from all of this that Jesus was fully human. He had a human family. He could do a family tree, and he was like you and I. He needed to eat, he needed to drink, he needed to rest. He was fully human. But, and this is a very big but, not only was he fully human, but unlike us, he was also fully and is fully God. So try and remember that for the quiz. Jesus was fully human. He was completely human, but he was also completely God. And we are told in the Bible that Jesus didn't just start existing in a stable in Bethlehem, but we are told in John chapter 1, verses 1 and 2, that from the very beginning of time, we were looking right back in Genesis, even before the Bible sort of starts really, Jesus existed with God the Father in heaven. And we are told that he was with God and he was God. So Jesus is God and he is human. He is both at the same time. Now we're going to learn that as a memory verse whenever we do our little Zoom, so try and keep that verse in mind as well. Now as we look back, just finishing up here, we can see Jesus' family, his human family here. And we can look back at these stories and we can see that Jesus' family was not perfect. And there's any of these people we could point to that have done really bad things. King David was a really, really good king, and he's called a good king in the Bible. But he killed a man. He did something bad. And we could look at any one of these and they've all done really bad things. But what we should remember is that God can use imperfect people who mess things up, and he can use imperfect families as well. So that's an encouragement to us because we are not perfect by any means, and neither are our families. So let's remember, Jesus was fully human and he is fully God. And his earthly father was Joseph, but more importantly, his true father is God in heaven. And if we remember both of those things, this will come up again in the next few weeks as well. That would be great. And it's through Jesus that God kept his promises to rescue us from our sin. And this was his rescue plan. And the really good news is that if we trust in Jesus, we believe that he is our rescuer, that we are then adopted into God's family. So we have another family. So the whole family thing runs throughout, whether it's Jesus' human family or his heavenly father. And the same for us. We have our earthly families, but then we also have this amazing family. We have brothers and sisters in Christ as well. So I think we'll leave it there. Hopefully you can join us for our Zoom session on Friday, and maybe we'll try and do a quiz. Hopefully you can remember some of these names. If your mummies or daddies are nearby, you could get a screenshot and look at some of those names. And remember the big thing, that Jesus was fully God and fully human. Okay, we'll leave it at that, and hopefully I'll see some of you at Zoom on Friday. Okay, bye-bye.